Welcome to TV Campfire Podcast. We are here to discuss Foundation Season 3 as a whole for the season, and we're going to look at the AI, Hari Seldon, the fall of Empire, the parallels between Gaal the Mule, and the Plight of Demrezel. And with that, let's get into it.
TV Campfire Podcast.
Hi, I'm Livia. I am TV and feature editor, and I'm hosting this podcast with my returning guests.
Hey, this is Peter. I live in Hollywood, and I write for We Live Entertainment.
Hey, it's Malik Elamine. I'm managing director of Griot Theater.
Hi, I'm Yusun, and I'm a costume designer and TV enthusiast from Los Angeles.
There's only one piece of relevant news for this podcast, which is that Foundation has been renewed for Season 4.
Wow.
As of yesterday. They got renewed yesterday. They did it right ahead of the finale. The only thing that concerns me is the showrunner was fired / let go.
Oh.
So
That's not good.
That's kind of big.
That's a very big thing. So he was angry at the fact that they cut the budget for Season 3 significantly. And so he got into a bunch of fights with the executives at Apple. I think Deadline said he chose to step down, but I don't know if that's real. Like, sometimes they say that.
Sometimes, yeah.
Yeah, they
Sometimes
say
you're
that.
invited to step down.
Exactly. And so now the new showrunner has been assigned. And what scares me is he's the showrunner from Fear the Walking Dead, which was not a great show.
Oh, I just watched the premiere of that yesterday.
Really?
And you're right. It's not that great.
It gets strangely... It does get better, but then it gets really good into where I really liked it, and then it falls off, and then I hate it again.
Yeah.
So I am very nervous. I really liked the Buffy writer Jane Espenson co-wrote almost every episode of this season.
Jane Espenson, was she the showrunner, or was she just one of the writers? Or
She was one of, but I think she was a co-producer as well.
because we
She
always
had
see
credit. She had
David
credit
S.
on every episode. Like, her name was on every episode as a writer.
I think David S. Goyer is the EP. Was
Correct.
he the showrunner?
Yes. So he's the one that got let go.
Oh, I mean, he's
He
been in the
created
business for a
the
long
show.
time. Like,
Yeah,
so.
and he created the show.
Yeah,
So
he also wrote with Nolan in the Dark Knight trilogy, and like, I mean, he's pretty. Oh, okay, so that's frustrating.
Let's just get into the topics. And the first thing I want to talk about, first topic, is AI Hari Seldon and the tragedy of his life / imprisonment, at least as he sees it. I see Malik's face, but I'm going to give my point. I'm going to say my point, which is that all the way back in Season 3, when Hari found out, he wasn't supposed to find out, but he found out from the daughter, Gaal's daughter, just blanked, Salvor Hardin. He found out from Salvor that there was a second foundation, that there was a second plan that he didn't know anything about, and he was pretty upset about it, to the point that he gave Demerzel the Prime Radiant. And he said he did it to put her into a logic bomb, but really it was to make himself more relevant. He didn't like the idea that he was cut out of the plan. And so all of that culminates this season in where he finds out about the mule having a secret and figuring... And I was like, why are you not going to kill the mule right now? What are you doing? And he's just like, let's see how this plays out. Because he wants to be important. And then the nail in the coffin is the fact that the mule showed up at all and he had no idea who he was. And everybody else knew who he was. And it just brought to light for him how little information and how not relevant he had become. And Gaal tells him she'll help him in exchange for him putting them on the ship. And then at the end of the day, she's like, oh, sorry, I lied / didn't tell you the truth, so that's fine. And I was like, she just made an enemy. The look on his face, that look of betrayal, I don't know if I want AI Hari Seldon to be my enemy against me. Like, that's all I'm saying. But I really felt bad for him, too, in that moment. Especially that last shot where she warps away and he ends up standing still. That was a beautiful shot because it showed you how isolated and how alone he was. So that, to me, is the tragedy of Hari Seldon.
in technical terms, Harry Seldon got out of pocket.
He
So,
did. He did.
so Gail had no choice but to work with what she had. Are you going to reason with a mostly omnipotent, powerful AI who wants to be a real boy like Pinocchio? Like, what else was she going to do?
But I don't know how she could have dealt with that in a better way. But the thing is, she does know Harry. And this version, she knows Harry enough to know that making him an enemy is a terrible idea. So,
Well, but so you have to balance that against your objectives. So he was not behaving as Harry Seldon would, because Harry Seldon was already a real boy. He didn't need to go through the Pinocchio phase. So the real Harry Seldon would have behaved differently. She's dealing with an AI who has a lot of power and a wish to be something he's not, and who is prioritizing that over their mission, the
That's
mission
true.
for which he was created in the first place.
True.
Yeah.
Right? So I actually don't have a lot of sympathy for it.
You guys are mean. Well, Malik's mean, but go ahead.
I don't have a lot of sympathy for it, and actually, even as a story arc, I think that was a little bit of them writing themselves into a corner, because Harry was so powerful that they had to find a way that he didn't just come in and solve everything. And for a while, it was, he doesn't want to tell you anything because that might affect what you do.
Right.
But when things actually came to a head, he was being unhelpful. And when he didn't kill the mule, he was like, well, you might be useful to me at some point.
That
Yeah,
was
that's
Like, what does it
weird.
have to do with your mission for Foundation?
I didn't understand that. I thought I had missed something or something. 'cause
Wait,
I was like,
I thought, well, no. Looking back on it, it's because he knows that's not the mule. Remember, he goes, I know you have a secret. And at the end, he's like, I'm sorry I couldn't tell you. Now, why didn't he tell Gail that that wasn't the real mule? That's why you don't kill the mule, because he's not really
It's
the
not
mule.
you. Yeah, I think he did figure out that there was, because he does tell her there's something wrong with his story. He's lying about something. His story doesn't add up. I don't know if I know he didn't know it was Beta. Like, he did not know that. He did know.
No, he does, because later he says that, I'm sorry I didn't tell you it was Beta.
No, but he did. There's no way he could have.
So
he
that's,
lied
that's
about
a problem. That's a
He
problem.
lied about
He
that.
lied about
That's
it.
a problem with the writing. He does seem to suggest he knew it all along.
But there's no way.
He did nothing approaching telling her what was going on.
And also,
to say
there's
that
no-
his story doesn't.
It doesn't add up. His story doesn't add up because he did not interact with Beta at all. So there's no way, and he's an AI, so he couldn't have felt.
Doesn't Beta go in the vault?
Yeah, but he doesn't speak to her.
But he could have done a scan of everyone, right?
But how is he gonna know? Those guys are a blank spot to him. Anybody who has mental powers or mental whatever, he can't see them. He cannot see them. He doesn't register them. They don't he wouldn't even notice her.
To Malik's point about the writing, even though I really like the show, I would say it's sort of a cheat that the episode that does the mule flashback, they should have done something where it was like the mule talking to somebody, because it just opens with this boy. So there's nothing for me to go, oh, this is a lie, this is a perspective.
Right.
So at the end, when we see, it's a girl and everything, but I'm like, well, but it wasn't. If it was presented
They
as
didn't
Mule
give you
going,
any-
let me tell you a
Yes.
story, I'd be like,
Yes.
oh, he was lying. All right,
I agree with you.
Yeah, I
agree with
would have
you.
done that. The frustration I've had in the first 1.5 seasons was that I always wanted Gail and Harry, the first Harry AI, or who becomes a real boy. I always wanted them to work together. And then they finally do, and then he dies and becomes an old man. But whatever, that's a whole nother conversation. But I always wanted them to really work together. But the whole thing was that Gail was always like, you can't really trust Harry. And I
Because he
think
always lies. That's true.
right, but this season we saw on 3 accounts, I'm pretty sure it's 3, we saw Gail basically become Harry. So when she lies at the end, I'm like, yeah, man, she's just doing what Harry does.
Also, that point, and Libya, your earlier point suggests Harry was already her enemy. She didn't make him an enemy.
Okay.
Because she had the power. Harry had the power to stop the guy
Yeah.
had been foretold to kill her and bring all the darkness, and
he
didn't.
doesn't do
But
it.
but
Yeah.
we know it's not. That's what I mean.
He was the tool, though. So if you had stopped that guy, I don't know what would have happened next. But he was absolutely the conduit, and it's not clear to me that the real Mule could have picked anybody and made them like that.
She almost does it to Gaal, and the only reason that she doesn't is because she switched
music.
Magnifico to
Yeah.
help her, and then she barely escapes. So, but that's
So she's
a
very
different topic.
powerful. Like
She's
yeah,
very powerful.
To Malik's point about the writing for Harry, I think it was weird, and maybe we can excuse it by saying that this is what the problem is with AI. Is that they don't listen. They get their own agenda. They start to have feelings and thoughts and their own priorities. So it wasn't that believable, or I didn't understand how Harry, the AI, had gotten to a place where he's the Pinocchio syndrome. It was weird to me that that's kind of where the story went, because I thought the show was a little bit more original than that, but it's still a side story, so I didn't care that much.
It's funny. I don't really see it exactly the way you guys are seeing it. What I saw it was I was frustrated that it's sort of like when you go from Fellowship of the Ring to, I guess, Return of the King, or Two Towers, Return of the King, which is that you spend the first part of this story with a Gandalf that is warm, and you're like, oh, I kind of like him. Yeah, he lies, but I like him. And then in this season, we kill off that version, and then we basically bring back a colder version. And I was like, well, that version's not as, I don't like that version as much. I wasn't seeing it as, because they're both AI, so I wasn't seeing it as an AI issue. But he is the one we care about. He's the one that I liked his journey. I cared about his relationship with Gaal. So then it's now he's gone in episode 2 of this season, and it's and now here's the cold version again. And I was like, ugh. Also, maybe Jared Harris was more busy, because he's not, even though he's
not in this season.
He's first on the call sheet, but I mean, he's not in this season as much.
There's a few more things to talk about that are really big, that are bigger plot points. The fall of Empire. And they tell you, first episode, season 1, the Empire will fall. And we get to this episode, and that's pretty much what we get.
Carnage.
Or did
carnage.
we?
I think we did, because
literally Empire fell.
Yeah.
Empire
so
fell.
gross. I just thought it would be a mob, a riot, an enemy, even retribution for Dusk destroying those planets. I thought it was going to be something like that. I didn't think it was Dusk going insane, singing tunes to himself, murdering all his clone brothers. He becomes this villain that I genuinely want someone to kill.
Me too.
Go ahead.
I think what they did is the more interesting choice.
Okay.
Because if Empire fell from external factors, that's essentially there's inherently a problem with Empire.
Right.
And by nature, Empire will fall, which is what, like you said, we've been hearing that from the top. So the fact that it fell internally, to me, is actually a more satisfying storyline. And you could even say it wasn't only Dusk who caused Empire to fall.
Oh, yeah, it was all three of them. Absolutely.
Took actions that were going to lead to Empire falling.
Absolutely.
So they were all three of them were working toward the fall of Empire, and Dusk just got there first.
Well, I mean, because Dawn basically destroys their entire fleet, so they now have no military. Right.
And was working for Foundation.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
but he's
working for their enemy.
Right, but that Dawn really thought he was doing the right thing for Empire. He really
But
did.
he still was naive and stupid. So that still destroyed Empire. Day, by being a negligent leader who's supposed to be on the center throne, he leaves this vacuum of power, which Dusk just rolls right into.
Yep.
And we have gotten indications all season that he's losing it.
Kudos to the show, because when he did flip, and the scene where he was putting on his final robes and he was looking at himself in the mirror, there was the slightest change in the score, in the music. There was a deeper bass sound, and I thought, I was like, he gone nuts. I was like,
But just
it's
in that
getting
moment,
real.
though,
Something's gonna happen. I really felt like the show had done a really great job of bringing us to that place and making it very believable.
you talked about that mirror scene of him dressing. Cinematically, there were 3 images of him in that final scene. So he was all 3 empires in that moment.
Yeah.
But to Peter's point, and to Libya's point, I saw the breadcrumbs. I always felt it was going to be a situation of we've got a runner because he doesn't want to die.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He said he's
That's
going to run.
all
Yeah.
I knew he didn't want to die, and I was anticipating that storyline.
Yes.
I did not anticipate that he was actually the last Targaryen, and he was going to go crazy and just kill everybody. I even thought he was going to save the baby so
Yes.
he would have a future. And
Right.
it's like, no, there is no future without me.
Right.
That blew my mind.
Yeah, and he used the baby as a trap for Demerzel
Yeah.
because she's his executioner, and in order for him to do what he wants, he needed her dead. And he knew that he personally could not kill her, so he had to set a trap for her.
Yeah.
But he wanted the baby dead, though, is the thing.
Also true.
I mean, this sounds crazy, but it was a beautiful scene because, like,
Beautiful is the word I would use.
But I mean, a brilliant scene in terms of
Okay,
the
there you
writing.
go.
Like, it was very believable. Like, he got 2 for 1. He kills the baby. We know he wants the baby dead. He gets Demerzel. Like, it did resonate with me, which is obviously what you want. Like, it was
Right.
he's nuts. Day has become trying to do the right thing. Demerzel is the heroine, and then and the baby and her are have this dramatic melty death.
Day's journey, he was my least favorite of them because he was just like this. He just
Layabout,
decided to give up. Yeah,
druggy.
he just decided to just give up. He's like, the empire's gonna fall. I'm just not involved in it. I don't care. And they had him go on this really crazy journey where he did care. He absolutely cared. He wanted to save everyone. He was invested. And then they just killed him.
That's why I respect the show. I respect the show because the investment is real. They create this, emotional connection where, like, for you, they took you on his whole arc and the journey, and then they were the rug.
They
right out
ripped
from
my
underneath
heart
you.
out, man.
I want to posit a theory. This is part 2 of the theory, and you can predict what part 3 is. So my
Okay.
theory is that Foundation is actually a retelling of Pinocchio. So Empire also want to be real boys.
Sure.
True.
All of
Sure.
them talk about the fact that they know they were born in a test tube. They're
Right.
not real people. They're just being taught by Demerzel to play their role and by their big brothers. None of them feel like their life is really theirs. They feel trapped, enslaved even.
Yes.
So this theme happens for Hari Seldon. It happens
Yes.
for Empire. And the
Yes.
third part we're going to talk about is it happened for Demerzel. So
Also
basically,
true.
Foundation is the Pinocchio story. Thank you.
He would now like to drop the mic.
The whole season, with all the things we're talking about, has done a good job with leaving breadcrumbs. Because even early on with Dusk, when he sees Day's ferret, and I was like, man, he does not like little animals. I was like, uh-oh, what does that mean? Like,
He's a serial killer. He's a serial killer.
I was like, that's not a good sign, man. Like, with Day, I really liked. What did you say the internet was calling him? Like Dude Day?
Dude,
I liked Dude Day. I really liked Dude Day, even though I get that I'm like, dude, you are shirking your duties. But I was like, I kind of like that. But here's the thing. That version of Day, when he meets his end, yes, I was very much just like, oh my God, is this the end of the show? It was like, we're going to lose Lee Pace? I was like, that feels like he's not coming back. That to me felt better than in season 2 when they killed Salvor. Because I was like, wait, I was like, I get that she protects her mom, but I was like, it just seems so random. And I was like, wait, now she's dead? What? Like,
Yeah,
but
I can
but
see that.
looking back on it, I'm like, oh, so since season 2 we lose this one major character. Now season 3 we lose another major character. Like, well, actually probably even more. But so anyways, that's interesting to me. Like just looking
But
at the shows.
they can come back because Dawn is still alive, and
That's
all he has
true.
to do is get older.
So the next piece I want to talk about is the concept of Gaal and the Mule having parallel destinies. Their missions are kind of opposite, but kind of the same in that they're willing to sacrifice anybody to accomplish their mission. They're willing to be ruthless. They're willing to destroy planets. They're willing to use anyone to further their goals. And you touched on this earlier about how Gaal has learned to be more like Hari. She knew that she was going to sacrifice that entire fleet, that entire planet, to destroy and shrink Empire. She used Dawn to accomplish that and was not particularly apologetic about it.
No, not at all.
When he called her on it, he was like, you tricked me into doing this, and the fleet's dead, this planet's destroyed, billions of people are dead. And she was like, yeah, it's for the greater good of the mission. And I was just like, oh my God, who is Gaal?
So I knew she expected the fleet to be destroyed. Did she expect the planet to be destroyed?
She
guessed it might happen.
Yes, she said it would.
I think he asked her. She's like, I knew it was a possibility.
Can you imagine season 1 Gaal doing anything like this?
No, never.
She would never do anything like
Yeah,
this.
I like how her character grew and changed over the course of these seasons. That's been an interesting thing to watch, and culminated in her really at the height of. I mean, she's kind of like Luke in Return of the Jedi. Like, she's become a master.
Right.
So when we see
Yeah.
her at the end in that water place and she's focused and centered,
Yeah.
she's a Jedi master now, which is really cool to watch.
That
That's
part
what
is cool, but she's still willing to kill billions of people. That's the part where I'm like, that's why I say she's more like the Mule, because the Mule, to get what he wants or she wants, is willing to kill billions of people. Their goal, how are they different?
Well, come on now. I mean,
No,
there's a very
because the
clear-
Mule says, I will give everyone love and take over the Empire and create a new empire and a new government. And that's basically what Gaal is trying to do too.
Not at all. I protest. There's no way those two goals are similar, because the Mule's goal is based on slavery, essentially. He must have everyone love him. He must be adored. And they have to have no free will in order for his version of empire to happen. Gale's version is about, we're gonna break some eggs to make some omelets here. But my end goal
Freedom
is for
omelet.
people to be free.
Yeah,
Yes,
freedom
freedom omelets. Freedom.
So at first I thought Beta was siphoning her power through Mule, and he was using her power to do these things. And I realized that doesn't make any sense, because he was in completely different places than she was, doing completely different things. So then I realized, oh no, she just basically got him at some point, basically hollowed him out and put herself inside his shell with his powers. That's why he would look lost sometimes. And that's why without Magnifico, he didn't know what to do. And without, there were points where he very clearly talks about how empty he is. He doesn't know, who he is, because a scenario has come that doesn't fit the parameters that he was given. And looking back, that makes a lot of sense. And that was what she was intending to do to Gaal, which was to basically turn Gaal, who is super powerful, into one of her acolytes that would go around and do her will.
Among all the things the show did well, I don't think they earned that twist.
Yeah. I agree with you.
Really?
They set it up. No, they
with it.
They did set it up. They set it up way back, because Magnifico goes with her if he was being controlled by the Mule, there's no way he would go with her. Then Magnifico talks, when Gaal tests Magnifico to see if he's aligned with the Mule, Magnifico says yes, but that he loves Beta. And the way he says he loves Beta is the same way he says he loved the Mule. And and then there's that moment where the Mule is torturing Dawn, and she tells him, stop. And he looks at her for a second, and he stops. just like obeys her order. And I was like, whoa.
Yeah,
So-
she's like, he's like, you don't need to do that, and he's like, you're probably right. And I was like, wow,
Yeah.
that's weird.
I thought that was
Like
weird, right? I was like,
See?
why? He doesn't.
Breadcrumbs.
No,
They
I
do a
agree.
good job. They earned
They-
it.
They did set the breadcrumbs, but it wasn't satisfying.
They leaned into the whole one child policy cliche,
Oh.
which is it's a girl. She was a girl. And so it's very common if you can only have one child, kill the girl. And
Yeah.
you know what I mean? So like when they swapped her out and they reminded us, you know, like, oh, they're drowning her and they don't want her. I remember thinking, why are they killing the older son? Like, why?
I thought
Like,
that
I
too.
remember
I did think
thinking
that.
Like
Yeah, I
very
thought that
much.
too.
I was like, what's the motivation? He's first
Interesting.
child, he's a boy. Like it hit me all the way back then. So when they
It did
switched
too.
it and they were like, and she was a girl, I was like, oh, I get it. Okay. What I love about the show, really, because we talk about on different shows, like, oh, the writing, you know, or the dialogue. They don't over explain everything. You know, they don't do for the dumb people in the
In the
audience.
back of the
you know what I
room.
mean? You know, they don't do that. They don't over explain things. And so sometimes I am actually confused, or I'm like, wait, what? Or I'm like, maybe the next episode will explain it. So, and I don't mind that. Like, to me, I think that it isn't a failing at all of the writing. I think it's sort of not poetic, but it's a form of writing that engages your mind and insists that you really pay attention.
You son, I guess I'm one of the dumb people in the back of the room because your explanation is much more satisfying than what I saw on the screen. Like what you just said is really cool. And if they had done anything to suggest that that's actually true, I would have been with it. I don't think the show told us anything close to what you just said.
We need to move on to our last point, which is the plight of Demerzel. And when I say plight, I mean basically her enslavement, that she's been a slave to the Cleons for, I think they said like
Cleons?
Cleons. Cleons.
Like wrong show, Lydia.
for like 1,000, 2,000 years since Cleon the First, and they changed her programming to basically follow them and fill their needs and keep their empire running. And the only way she can get out of it is for empire to fall. And she's been doing little things here and there throughout their time to hasten that fall. We talked earlier about the dawn, day, and dusk, basically internally, you know, creating the fall. But she's the one that created the genetic drift that caused them to be this way.
Did she? I must have forgotten that.
Yeah, she did
me
that in
too.
season 1. She did that in season 1. The pure sample of Cleon the First was destroyed and contaminated. They couldn't use it anymore. So they
Right.
had to make clones from clones, which caused the genetic drift.
Oh, so she wasn't plotting to do that.
Yes, she was. She did
You
that.
said it was destroyed, so she destroyed it?
Yes.
Wow, I don't remember that.
I don't remember that either.
They insinuate it, but they don't 100% confirm it. And then this season, they tell you she destroyed the Sky Bridge. She did that.
Well,
in
we got
season-
that, yes.
Yeah, she
I
did
remember
that in season 1 to help out Foundation. And everything that she's been doing really small, subtle things to hasten the fall of Empire.
Well, destroying the Sky Bridge is not a subtle thing.
Yeah, it's
But your
subtle
point
in
is well
that.
taken.
Yeah, the point is that she never admitted that. We didn't know it until season 3.
Yeah.
So, like, she's been doing things behind the scenes to sabotage Empire that her programming will allow.
No, but I thought that her argument was that even in doing those things, at the very end, when all is said and done, it is to actually keeps Empire going. So
That's
even
what
if
but that's what she does for her programming to allow her to do it. But she also knows it's going to hasten the end of Empire. That's what the
So I
therapist was talking about.
I don't think she knows. I think the conundrum that she has, I believe the conundrum is
Yeah.
that she doesn't know whether her actions are actually for her programming or against her programming.
Yes, exactly.
She doesn't actually know what the right thing to do is.
I think it's subconscious. I think she subconsciously knows that the things that
She
I
doesn't
don't think
have
it's
a
conscious.
subconscious. She's an AI.
I'm just saying, her destroying those samples hastened the end.
I mean,
of it.
I love actually. So to this point, and they bring it up, the idea. I believe the idea that she doesn't know, and that when she has an opportunity to talk to another robot, that helps her figure out what she thinks. Right. I love that they have this concept that a robot by itself can't just figure out things. It needs another robot to talk to figure out, what do I think? I thought that was a brilliant setup. But I'm more excited by the idea that she wasn't plotting all along to purposefully make Empire fall.
That's what makes her so amazingly interesting. She is absolutely one of my favorite characters, and her arc
She's
is
my favorite character.
Yeah,
100%.
she's absolutely one of my favorite characters, and her arc is absolutely my favorite journey, more so than even Gale's. I feel like the two of them, you know, in their journey, Gale's trying to save humanity, and Demerzel is trying to gain humanity. Like, she is trying
and save humanity. She's trying to save humanity
yes,
too.
but in finding her own humanity, or, you know, which came first, the chicken or the egg, you know?
Because she's Pinocchio too.
Right. But we see this all the time in science fiction. And that's why science fiction is so great. And when you try to tell people who aren't sci-fi fans, it's all about humanity, not about machinery. Even the fact that she has like a therapist, you know, I loved that. If that isn't the most human thing ever, to be like, I need a therapist. I was like, girl, you are human. You've made it. You are done.
But I definitely think that, like, the idea of, like, how do you get out of your prison is your programming, is such a very, like, fascinating, like, existential, like, issue of, like, man. And he makes her character so fascinating, where I'm always like, I'm rooting for her. Even, I mean, let's remember, the first time we see that is in the first season, when she just, like, snaps Dawn's neck, right? And you're like, oh my God, she killed Empire. How can she do that? And it's like, oh, well, because ultimately this is protecting Empire. And you're like, oh, all right. Like, okay, my slight ding on Foundation as an overall show is that they have really good actors, and they have profound questions. And when they're great, they have things like the Mule. They have these really great different, like, ideologies, but they always have these weird little, like, one-dimensional 2-second villains. Day is with the robot cult people, and that guy was terrible. Like, I don't want to say he's terrible, like he's a bad actor, but I was just like, oh my God, I get it. You're ambitious and you're evil. Like, it's just like, I don't know why Foundation does that. They always do these little swerves into these characters where I'm just like, they're so uninteresting in their like how over the top they are. I mean, I was satisfied when, you know, Day killed him and speared him. Sure, I like that, but I was just like, I don't know why the show does that.
I'm going to comment on that, but the engineer in me has to point out, Peter, one dimension is a point. So
wow,
two dimensions is a flat character
that is true.
With no depth.
Right.
But your underlying point, your underlying one dimension is absolutely right on. But here's the thing. That character and that planet could have been interesting.
Yes.
It almost was interesting. And then it was like somebody's fever dream.
Yeah.
It became Mad Max meets some pop opera.
These are the people that believe the robots will save them. I was like, that's interesting. Where's that going? Like, not much, you know, sadly.
Overall, this season has been phenomenal. It's probably, to me, the best season they've ever had.
Really?
Yeah, because I really liked a lot of the story as it was going on. I don't know how I feel. Like, I feel like the last episode, some of the stuff didn't land for me.
Can you talk about Gale jumping out into space and using a surfboard like the Silver
surfboard move?
Mission Impossible now? Now it's Mission Impossible.
Riding a shield in Tears of the Kingdom. I was just like, what is going on? Like, but yeah, whatever. Like,
For me, this season has been one of the strongest they've had. except there were some problems in the last episode that I had. But overall, I really liked it. And the one thing that this season did that every other season hasn't done, which I'm not sure how I feel about, is I don't feel like we're going to do a 150-year jump for next season.
Yeah.
I feel like we're going to continue where we were because they didn't defeat the mule. They didn't stop the crisis.
They did defeat the mule.
No, they didn't. Beta's the mule.
Yes, and she beat her.
No, she
Well,
didn't.
she gets away.
She gets away, but
She
she
didn't
didn't
kill
defeat her. The way you know she didn't defeat her is those ships from Foundation are firing on her.
Yeah.
Which means they're still taking orders from the mule. So she did not defeat the mule. We have Dusk, who thinks he's the only clone left and thinks that he is control of Empire, even though we know that Dawn's still alive. So I'm of two minds. I kind of want them to jump 150 years, but I feel like the story's not done.
Yeah.
So I'll be interested to see where they go next season.
They could do like a prequel kind of a thing episode where they jump and then they go back and tell us what happened.
Yeah. I think they're going to jump.
I think so
Okay.
too.
So we'll take bets. You guys in the comments, let us know what you think is going to happen.
So we're not gonna. Do you think we'll see Lee Pace next season?
Yes, I do. I think Dawn will turn into Lee Pace.
But
Yes.
then that you can't do 150 years. He can't last that long.
Guys in the comments, I'd like you to let us know what you think. What did you think of the subject we talked about? Where do you think we're going in the next season? Are you glad we're having another season? Do you think this should be the last one? What conspiracies, thoughts, did all the twists and turns of the season work for you? Let us know, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Later.
Bye.